This is a new thing. We usually do this as a recorded thing, but it's Sunday. I'm feeling frisky. Steve's looking fantastic. So I said to Steve, I said, you know what, son? Let's do this whole thing live. One shot in the can, like true professionals. If it flies, it flies. If it doesn't, hey, we all have watched Mrs. Brown's Boys. So why not? Right? Steve, how you doing this week, brother?
Well, two things. Well, three things. I don't want to think of you feeling frisky. If I could get it in
Right?
the can first time, that would be amazing at my age. And I don't watch Mrs. Brown's Boys. Okay, I just want to put that out there. I don't watch it because I just don't like it. But thanks for mentioning.
Well, listen. Here's the thing that I do like about it is that it's live. It's live and uncut, right? Not like me at all, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, there was some boxing going on this weekend, Steve. Where I don't whoo, this is a wild one because I don't even know where to start. Like we could go back to the earlier fights, but we've got to get into it right away because the main story was the big fight of the weekend. Teofimo Lopez, Rolly Romero, live and in Technicolor. What was your take on this fight, first and foremost, Steve?
I thought that Rolly's, I mean, he's the king of swerve for me. And I know everybody swerves everybody else, but he likes to call it out. And, Jack Catchwell's been waiting. Shakram Giasov was waiting. Teofimo got the call, a hand out to a friend. They're still friends. And then Rolly Romero didn't turn up. He did not turn up on the night. How much more backpedaling can you do? I thought Teofimo wasn't great either, but he threw more punches than Roy Romero, who thinks, by the way, it was a masterclass of defensive boxing. What did you think?
I mean, is this guy think he's Shakur Stevenson now all of a sudden? Like, is he do is I mean, there's a difference between a defensive class, the way that like Floyd Mayweather would do it, and what Rolly was doing it. Because what Rolly was doing reminded me very much of what Ryan Garcia was doing in their fight. Well, two things. It reminded me of two things that Ryan Garcia was doing in their fight. One was turning his back instead of just rolling and doing the old Philly shuffle thing. And the other thing that he was doing was losing and not listening to his corner at all. I don't understand what was going. Like, did I don't know? Did Rolly Romero forget how to speak Spanish? Like, where was the disconnect there? Because the instructions he was being given were clear and present and absolutely correct. But he was sitting there trying to look at himself up in the lights.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? And Sergio Mora on commentary, I think around the eighth round, ninth round, said he's got to defend this title. And there has been a kind of strangeness in his responses to to DAZN in particular, to Mannix. He wouldn't talk to him before the fight. I thought that might have been a way to try and sell a fight, which I didn't really care about. I do now. I didn't then. See, I was wrong, and I thought that Teofimo would lose. But also afterwards, he wouldn't speak either. I know it was upsetting for him, but it's a bit of a glass. I mean, they mentioned also on commentary a bit glassy-eyed sometimes, not really there, a bit disconnected. I'm wondering if there's something here which is affecting the rest of the stuff. I don't know, but I'm a bit concerned about that. Certainly didn't turn up last night.
But here's the reality, and it kind of made me think about it as well because it reminds me of what we've seen in other boxers in the past. What I fear when you see boxers acting like this and the disconnect inside of that ring like that, you can't do that. You cannot do that at all. But are we looking at another Danny Garcia situation here? Are we looking at a fall in front of our eyes? Are we looking, you know what I mean? Is this one of those Keyshawn Davis moments? Is this an Errol Spence Jr. moment? where you know what I mean. We're seeing we saw it at its peak, or or are we giving Rolly too much credit for him beating a YouTuber named Ryan Garcia? What are we doing?
I mean, people said that it was a fluke when he beat Ryan Garcia.
Hmm?
Um, I think the performance last night probably endorses that. I thought that, you know, what you were saying about, are we seeing this kind of situation where um, somebody's falling out of love with boxing, or, and he looked while he was in there as if Teofimo Lopez, his friend, had the impudence to actually hit him around the face and body.
Right.
It
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
like he was shocked, and that worries me. Now, I think probably the swerving of Giasov and Catrol and the handout to Teofimo Lopez, and you know, and the sanctioning body were complicit in that. I've spoken at length about that, how much I hate it, being a curmudgeon as I am. Um, I think that might have something to do with, I really don't want to fight people. They call it doing a Javante Davis, not wanting to fight anybody. I don't really want to box anymore. Javante Davis in a different situation. He's had the balls to say, not going to fight. But Rolly's not in that position because fairly new, you know, he needs to defend his championship. But it looked like he didn't want to last night. That's the fear, isn't it?
It looked that way, but then right away, much like so I used to have to deal with this all the time when I used to work at nightclubs, Steve. You know, that whole like, oh, I'm going to fight you, I'm going to fight you, I'm going to fight you until you get into the moment of the fight and then they forget about how to fight. So then you back off and the fight is over and you've done whoop their ass. And but as they're walking away, they start chirping again, like you got like I'm the one that got lucky or something. This is exactly what Rolly did because he sat there and said, oh, I'm gonna fight, and then didn't show up to the fight. But then right afterwards was like, what? I won. I demand a rematch right away. He didn't even hit me in the face. What? Did the body shots hurt me? No, none of like it was almost like there was a disdain and we were putting him out for making him waste his Saturday night. Well, that bit him in the ass. And now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how you feel about this, but as far as I'm concerned, back of the bus, kid. Like you got to go back to the back of the line right now because there's a lot of other guys in the WBA specifically where he won this belt who are going to want a shot at that belt. Every other belt has already been like there's no onesie twosie bullshit. The WBA there is because there's a guy, one of you gypsies, Jack Catterall, who is deserving of this shot.
People in the UK are not all gypsies, you heathen. Some of us are related to the royal family, as I am, my good self. So, you know, they're not all, we don't all live in a bloody tinker's hut or anything like that, you fool. Well,
I don't I don't know if admitting that you're related to the inbreeds is the smartest thing to do.
look, all I'm saying is that's why I'm so incredibly posh and
Yes.
incredibly rich.
One.
That
Oh
is
wow.
why.
Yes. Two out of
That's
two.
all.
Okay.
Uh,
My bad.
I don't have my own security detail, but you know, but I mean, I pay for my own. Now, to Rolly, I thought it was just absolutely effing ridiculous that he said I should get a rematch. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He said he should get a rematch because some of the cards were quite tight. You don't get a rematch for that, mate. Is there anything in the contract that says you've got a rematch clause? Because I don't think there is. Otherwise, he would have mentioned it, wouldn't he?
This is the Chael Sonnen approach. You know, it's like when he fought Anderson Silva and he get tapped out right before the end. He's like, "Oh no, I thought that if you tapped, that just ended the round and you started the next round." You shut up. You know what the rules are. You know how this goes. Like you know because your coach, your trainer in the corner told you to start doing more and you did less. You cannot beat a guy like that with that check left. Granted, fantastic. Cut Tio. Even caught him another time right at the end of the round that made him kind of like stand up on his heels and go, "Where's my dog?" But that was it. You got to do more, son.
You have, and I thought that also let's deal with the press conference first. It was fucking ridiculous. He lifted his shirt up to show that he was he was hitting you to the body, lifted his shirt up. Is there any red there? Well, there is. Oh, that's just blood. Have you not showered? Have you not showered before you come out to the press conference? He also said, because he cut him, I think he said, I deserve a rematch because I cut him. I mean, I thought that might have been a clash of heads. I thought it could have been. It was right in the corner. I mean, he did catch him, and yes, you're right. He was all at sea. But then I thought that I thought that Rolly, I thought he smothered his own work, and he didn't try to pull him down. He didn't do it on purpose. I thought he ran into him, which meant that he actually did pull him down. And Harvey Dock was right. The ref was right to say, okay, that's just a slip. He was right to do that. That's Rolly's fault. Everything is Rolly's fault. You don't work enough. It's a stinker of a fight. The judges are going to give it to the one who works more. That's Teofimo Lopez. Simple as that, mate. You were not a defensive. It was not a defensive masterclass because you need to throw a bit when you've got a defensive masterclass as well, don't you?
So then let me ask you this, because Rolly Romero is saying that he wants a rematch right away. But Teofimo Lopez is like, you're in the rear view, son. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I am not fighting Jack Catterall. I'm not fighting the mandatory in this. Teofimo Lopez thinks that he's got 3 more fights with DAZN, and all 3 of those fights are set up to be unification fights. That's what he thinks right now. So Liam Perro, Ryan Garcia currently, but we don't know how that's going to play out, right? And your good friend, Devin Haney. So how's this going to play out, Steve?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked. I didn't know that. And I'm shocked because Teofimo Lopez sat down to talk about DAZN. He sat down on the Ariel Helwani show, and he's a very intelligent man for a boxer, very intelligent. We're talking about certain parameters here, but very intelligent. And he said he cared about belts, and he cared about unification, and he cared about he didn't care about Zuffa offering him money and making him an offer to fight on the undercard of the Berlanga fight. That was pretty easy for him to turn down. So I thought that Jack Catterall would be getting a call. But I can understand the unification because there has been talk about, well, Garcia is always yapping like a little dog, isn't he? About, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, so I'd like to fight you. I mean, he could fight Garcia. Devin Haney's another matter. I mean, Devin Haney would be loving this because he needs a fight.
He does need a fight. Here's the problem. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're talking narratives, and we talked about this before. Conor Benn beats Ryan Garcia. Now, Conor Benn has that belt, but Conor Benn is being promoted. That's a Zuffa fighter. Now, Teofimo Lopez just came out and said all of these things about how, Zuffa was courting him, but he just didn't feel right about it. So that's why, I'm paraphrasing. So that's why he didn't sign with Zuffa. How do you think those negotiations are going to work out if that happens that way?
It's going to be more difficult, but then, money talks, doesn't it? To quote Spinal Tap, quote Bobby Fleckman, money talks and bullshit walks. And I suspect they'll get it done because of the money. Having said that, it's not always that way in boxing, is it?
Well, because you can tell the look in these bloodshot eyes here tell a different story, Steve. Because we're talking about if in fact apples were oranges and oranges were green, Tyson Fury and AJ would be fighting, and there would be no questions going on right now because the money is apparently the issue. What's going on here?
I really don't understand, Titster. I really don't understand because I think it might be a gigantic work.
Okay.
I think it might be a gigantic work, and I think they've gone too far. And certainly people like that who comment on my podcast or vlog, or whatever you want to call it, say we're sick of this now, sick of all this chat. So it's going to Madison Square Garden, okay? And after the fight last night, the EBU fight, Eddie Hearn came out and said, I didn't think he would speak against Turki Al-Sheikh because there's lots of money to come and lots of business to come. He's a good businessman, doesn't want to affect that. But last night he said words to the effect of, I've done a lot of work with him. He's always come through with what he said. This time could be the time he doesn't. And you've got two things, haven't you? The first thing is it looks like it's going to Madison Square Garden. There are reports that Eddie Hearn has said, if you want to do that, then we want more money. We've not been paid for the Christian Prenga fight yet. And also, we want a say in who's on the undercard. We want matchroom fighters on the undercard. Seems okay to me. But you've also got Tyson Fury with an expletive laden Instagram post, I think it was, saying, can't believe he wants more money from old Turkey. Can't believe it. Shit house. But you've also got Eddie Hearn saying, well, he can't come out of that contract because he's signed. Well, what is it, Eddie? I mean, you're saying that your contract says, because AJ said to put in a clause which said it should be in Britain. He's now saying Wembley Stadium, 100,000 rather than 20,000 in MSG. So he's got that going on, but Fury can't come out of the contract. So the fight will take place, or will it? I just don't bloody know at this point, but I think it's a gigantic work, and I think they've worked themselves into a corner.
I can understand why Eddie wants more money out of this, because it's in New York at Madison Square Gardens. They're going to get moited on the taxes. Everybody knows this. When you fight at MSG, you end up paying a ridiculous amount of taxes, more than you would anywhere else. So I'm sure that has something to do with why they're asking for more money on that end, to try to cover their asses there. But what I don't understand is how Tyson Fury, let's say that this whole thing is a work and it doesn't happen with AJ. You said to me, Tyson Fury's going to keep the date and fight somebody else? They've got literally hours, because MSG is going to have to, keep the date or release the date to somebody else and book something. Netflix or whoever else is going to have time to promote this thing. DAZN is going to have time to promote this thing. Whoever's putting this on, right? And Paramount, of course, because there's the promoter part of it, where Zuffa has said that they are going to be a promoter. Now, if they have fighters on the undercard, they by all rights have the right to promote this entire card. But you know that in the eyes of the public, that'll look like they're promoting the main event. And that's where Eddie has the problem, I think.
Yeah, and Tyson Fury saying, I'll just use that date myself anyway. Two things. The first thing is Eddie Hearn saying, well, you can't, you signed a contract. However, if AJ doesn't sign the contract, then it's no contract. So if he says...
That's what he signed. He gave Eddie an autograph.
Yeah.
Eddie should probably go to eBay and try to sell
it. And the other thing is, who is he going to fight? Hang on a minute. Hello, is that Deontay? I understand you don't have a dance partner at the moment. Let's do it a fourth time, you shit house. I think that... See, that's the phone. See, there you go. I think that's what's going to happen. I can't imagine him. Can you imagine any of his team saying, let's get Moses Itauma, let's get Daniel Dubois, let's get even Richard Riakporhe? They destroy current Tyson Fury. He's a shot fighter. He needs to fight AJ, two shot fighters, or he needs to fight Deontay, another shot fighter who doesn't know where I live, so I can say that.
Do you think that they think that this won't sell in New York? That this fight won't sell? That Tyson Fury isn't a worldly enough commodity? That nobody knows who AJ is outside of the UK?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's the real problem here?
Yeah.
Then my question is, if that's the real problem, Eddie, what have you done to fix that up to this point? Why is it that you're saying the greatest heavyweight boxer that you promote in Anthony Joshua is not a household name across the world, and that he's been protected this entire time, and every single fight that he's done up to this point has been in his own backyard, and that doesn't build anybody? And now it's come to bite him in the ass. That's the reality.
I appreciate what you're saying. However, you could say, and I'm not standing in Eddie's corner here, even though you think I lick his balls. I don't. Well, on a Wednesday, occasionally. But the thing is, he fought Klitschko. I mean, really, he fought Usyk, and his opponents are not American opponents except Andy Ruiz Jr. And am I right? He's not got big American opponents. Tyson Fury has got a big American opponent. He's got the trio with Deontay Wilder, and yet he's not big in the States either. So I don't know why he's not. I think that these are two quintessentially British fighters. I think that Tyson Fury's humour is not American. And I think that Anthony Joshua's reserve is not American either. I think that's the reason.
I can tell you why Tyson Fury's not over in the United States. Because he's a mutt. Like, he's literally a mutt. He's one of these guys, like, you're not funny. Your delivery on your comedy is not funny. You look like an oaf that nobody takes seriously. You're just a giant in the ring. You don't look like a fighter. You don't act like a fighter. You act like a drunken tool that we see in British comedies. That's why they don't take you seriously. That's just the reality of it. You know what I mean? Okay, so like AJ fought a Klitschko, big deal. Okay, you know what I mean? It was well after the fact. Like, but Eddie Hearn could have done everything to get him over in the United States. It wasn't like the fights weren't there. He chose to not take them, just like this one here. And now he's like, oh, geez, oh boy, my guy's the B side in this. That's really what he's concerned about.
Yes, and I think that's a concern with other matchroom fighters who Eddie is, stewarding. You got the same thing, and it's not the same level, of course, but you've got the same thing with the Romford Bull, with Johnny.
Is this going to be the driving thing? Is in boxing with boxers as to why Zuffa looks like a better option? Because who else have you got? You got Oscar De La Hoya, Top Rank. Well, Top Rank is he's older than dirt, right? And Oscar De La Hoya, he's nuttier than a fruitcake. So like, who are you going to do business with?
The problem, yes, you've got an alternative now, haven't you? So you don't need to sit on the shelf. Ben Whittaker has sat on the shelf for some time, and that's been the concern. And now he's doing something with him. But if it doesn't work, I can see Ben Whittaker going to Zuffa because they think that's the better option. Of course, when they get there, they look at the grass that was greener elsewhere and say, well, where's my fight? Where's my fight? I point you towards Shakur Stevenson, Tidster, who's twisting in the wind with nothing going on. And Zuffa better do something for him. I also point you towards Jaya Pataya, who's now getting some kind of crumbs. But Zuffa isn't that great place where I'm going to get an instant fight and it's going to work for me. It worked for Conor Benn, but let me remind you, Conor Benn's deal with Ryan Garcia was created not by Zuffa, but by Uncle Eddie Hearn.
So I think that the Jai Opataya, very quick side note on this one, I think that the reason that he has Joel McHalen is so that the Zuffa fighters can get to know who Joel McHalen is, so that they can then put him, because Jai's going to run through him. But the fight to set up for Joel is the fight to set up for their other fighter, because they were supposed to fight in the first place. This is the guy that derailed everything for Ryan Rozicki. There's the comeuppance fight for Ryan and Zuffa, and they're waiting on that one, I'll bet you.
I think it's interesting with, I think you're talking about Mikhalian's brother Joel, whereas really you mean Noel Mikhalian, don't you? Yeah. Joel's a bigger fighter and a better fighter than Noel. I think Noel peppered his kecks with a load of fecal matter when he saw that David Benavidez was the fight that he was being pushed towards by WBC. And I think he's right to think, hang on, it's not usually working this way. Usually it's WBC saying, I will fight this person, not, or they will fight me, not them saying, you go towards that, Noel, off you go. And I think I think he loses against David Benavidez. I think that's one of the reasons why he's gone towards Jai. And he's not got a deal with Zuffa yet, has he? So he's in for a one shot. I don't think he's signed with him or anything.
No, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's still a Don King guy.
Yeah. Yes.
He's the only Don King guy. Because
yes.
the other Don King guy is like a YouTuber now. Adrian Broner. I'm begrudgingly looking in your direction. Midget.
He'll want some money for an Uber. So can you send him that money? Tid, you said you would.
No. I said I would look into it. I said I would check my finances, but unfortunately, I didn't pick up the Financial Times today, Steve.
Fair enough. And neither did I. And consequently, I feel I can't give him any cash either. It was only a small journey, but I find I can't stretch to that fiscally. I think that it's an interesting situation with Norm Macarian because he's been stripped of the title. So Benavidez will fight Sislak. And I got a load of shit from people because they said he should be fighting Benavidez right now. Well, actually, what can not Benavidez, Jai Opetaia right now? Well, what can Jai Opetaia give him if he wants belts? Because he'll get the WBC belt, he'll beat Sislak. I mean, unless I'm very much mistaken, and then he'll fight Jai Opetaia. But he wants some belts, and Jai Opetaia doesn't have that yet. He's not got that play. So it's all right. Jai Opetaia saying, "Please come and fight me. You should be fighting me." What for, mate? Show me why.
Yes. Because then there's the other one, the fight that it looks like is going to be announced any day now. It was, Eddie was talking about it this weekend, yesterday, on the fights. Looks like Chris Billum-Smith and Dimitri Bivol are on a collision course for one another. What do you think about this one?
Brilliant fight for Chris Billum-Smith. Dimitri Bivol, he won't be excited by that in any way, shape, or form. But Chris Billum-Smith will be up for that. And as we know, if he's up for it, he can really create difficult times for opponents. And Dimitri Bivol coming off the injury, and the easy fight against Seifert, whatever he was called, I think that he's got to be on his mettle. Because if not, Chris Billum-Smith, who says I'm good and I'm getting better, and I would agree with that. I think that's a real. I think that's a tougher fight than Bivol thinks it is.
Oh yeah, especially if you pay attention to what Chris Billum-Smith just went through with Brian Rozicki. We're going to get to see in this next fight what kind of tread was taken off of those tires. 100%. You know what I mean? Because just because you won the fight, that war with boxing could get a whole lot more dangerous now because clearly the armor has been compromised, right? And Bivol's a big puncher too. We've seen him in the past with some of this stuff, so I'm excited about that fight, no doubt about it. Let me ask you this, Steve. I want to shift gears here before we wrap this whole thing up. And I want to talk about the ever-popular, ever-growing sport of women's boxing. It looks like more milestones were met, and we have a 50-fight female in Amanda Serrano, 50 wins, I should say. 50 wins. She's like Floyd Mayweather up in this motherfucker. And just like a Floyd Mayweather fight, I believe that last fight was a gift. And not the kind that she thought it was going to be. She thought it was going to be a gift, all bowed, wrapped, nice, some really easy tape to get off of that thing and just kind of look at it and go, oh, I can play with this later, anytime I want. But the unfortunate thing is that Lucretia Manzur, she had different plans. She came to fight. What did you think of this fight?
I thought it was great because of that reason. Absolutely. I didn't expect much from it. And I think that Amanda Serrano was surprised. I think she was surprised to be in a fight. And I think that she struggled to come through it, to be honest. But that's good. That's good. And people said, well, she wanted the knockdown and that affected the way she boxed. It could be because it had been bigged up, but I think that she really quite struggled to do it. And that's always something to take away. And hopefully she and her team will take that away and say, what happened there then? Let's have a look at that, back to the drawing board, and let's see why you struggled. I mean, in the end, she came through. And but I thought that it wasn't. So, well, let me add the caveat. When I say she struggled for her. And I think that it didn't look, I wasn't thinking she's going to get beaten here. She's going to go in a minute. But I think it wasn't as smooth as she might have liked. And that might be because she took her opponent too lightly. It might be because she was looking past her. It could be for any one of those reasons, but you really need to concentrate, as we know, on the person in the ring opposite you. It wasn't a good night for her, but it was a good night for women's boxing.
I think I think that this goes back to my statement that I've said before. If you spend too much of your career with one other fighter, you're not paying attention to the whole road. There's people coming up along the sides of you here that are getting, as you travel along. And that's what we saw. So I don't think that there's a drawing board to go back to for this one, Steve. I think that there's a suitcase to pack. And I think it's time to go on an extended vacation for Amanda. You've earned it. You've done everything that you needed to do in the sport of women's boxing. Time to retire. The way that you looked, you have nothing to prove to anybody. It's not going to happen at this point for you if you think that you're going to make a run or whatever it is. That's not a reality. So take what you've got and go. Then you have to look at the other side of that, Steve. If she does that, who does MVP have? Yeah, exactly. Is that why, Steve? Is that why they've shifted more into this world of MMA? Because they see the writing on the wall with their boxing promotion and they see that without Amanda Serrano, MVP, the boxing promotion, doesn't exist nearly the way that it did?
I think that's right. And I think that, in business, as we all know, diversification is very important. So I mean, and he can segue into MMA, done it once successfully. I think he can do that. It also, he's got a model, hasn't he? Because he's looking at UFC, he's looking at Dana, and he's thinking, I can do it like that. And it's easier when you have a model. But I don't know how long MVP will continue if it diversifies like that. I it really he really should be cornering, or it really should be cornering the market in women's boxing because it's causing some ripples. I mean, he hasn't announced anybody else, but Dana White very quickly announced a few weeks ago announced I've got a Zuffa Boxing's got a female boxer. Nobody else, I don't think, but I think cornering that market, even if you take a little bit of a dip, is the important thing. I think if you say, well, we're going to MMA as well, and then we'll do a talent agency, I think that just dilutes the main, your core, what brought you to the table. And even if he's thinking, I need some new talent, and it might be a while before you hear from us, I think he should be concentrating on women's boxing because he's been successful, and plaudits to him. He's really raised women, the eyes on women's boxing. There are lots of eyes now, and it's mainly because of him and MVP, I'd say.
There's two women out there because Katie Taylor is on her way out as well. There's two women out there that I believe MVP should have in their corner if they're going to succeed at this point. And that's Alicia Baumgardner and that's Clarissa Shields. Problem is those two don't necessarily get along with one another right now, and you kind of have to have one without the other. We saw what happened, and this is why Clarissa isn't allowed at MVP promotion, events, yada yada yada. But take a page out of the world of professional wrestling and Vince McMahon. Green is always going to win. So if MVP can put together a deal with Clarissa Shields, I think that that is something that saves them. And Amanda Serrano can then go, phew, now I can finally fucking go away. Because there's got to be part of her that believes that, like, she's got to know if I walk away from this thing's going to fold. And that's not an ego thing on her part, I'm sure, but it's got to be in her head because it's a reality thing. She is the biggest thing MVP has right now with their boxing promotion, right? She's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, and it's a difficult situation for her to be in, really. Particularly considering the performance she gave at last. I think that you're right. They need to go talent hunting, um, and they need to concentrate on women's boxing.
Mm-hmm.
They've done that really well. It's what they do, and so I prefer them to do that rather than make some ill-advised forays into MMA. But I suspect they'll try and diversify, and everything will be diluted, and it will affect MVP badly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, the only thing that could probably get affected more on a bad scale in the world of boxing, because we saw it again this weekend. We talked about it earlier with the fact that Rolly Romero thinks that he, because the scores were as tight as there were, he deserves a rematch. Somebody even had that down as a draw. And this wasn't the only fight of the night that this happened, where the scores indicated that the beating that happened didn't happen the way that the judges may have seen this. When are we going to fix scores in boxing? And what happened to the idea of open scoring? How come that isn't an option inside of boxing?
I think that, and I'm an old head, and I know that there's a real dissatisfaction in some scoring, but I think, being so interested in the business of boxing, that the current judging model, incorrect sometimes though it is, and sometimes ridiculous though it is, should stay as it is, because I think that it gives us something to talk about. It gives an opportunity to talk. I can see your face. It gives an opportunity to talk about it. It gives an opportunity for the fight to happen again, to make more green. And I think it just creates a kind of human situation, which is judges are affected by people at ringside, by the A side bringing loads of people, by somebody being busier, even if they're not landing. So all of those things, fighters need to understand, and when will they understand that this is something they've got to combat? So if they're on the B side, they know they need to come out and get more aggressive, all of that, but they don't, and then they whine about it. I don't want it changed because I love talking about the vicissitudes of it.
But I think the other side could also be said if you have the open scoring, you don't end up in a situation like you did with, just recently with Romero and Lopez. You don't end up with Rolly Romero sitting there going, I lost? No, because after, even if it wasn't in the first, let's say you start the open score, okay, the first 3 rounds, we ain't telling you shit. But then after that, you're like, yep, this is what's happening. So by the time you get to that 8th and 9th round, that corner can clearly assess and be like, yo, you gotta step this up. I think the other side of that then also indicates that if you're going into that 9th and 10th round and you're behind and there's no chance of a knockout, you've got the opportunity to save your fighter. Toss it in, fight another day, save the rounds, save the concussions, right? I think that there's that side of it. And if we're talking about fighter safety at the end of all of this, I think that open scoring could also lead to a lot more fighter safety.
You make a very good point. I think I'd probably endorse that. I don't want to change the judges, but I think open scoring works after a certain amount of rounds. One thing I don't want is that kind of, well, let's have the 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds double scoring.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
want
no,
any of that
no, no. We're
bollocks.
not. No, and then we're all tied up going into the 12th, so let's throw in a knife. Like this isn't Star Trek. You know what I mean? We're not battling for the love of a fucking Vulcan here. Like this isn't the way that this works, people. You know, so yeah, I get what you're saying. You keep it the way it is, but I think that it lights a fire, it saves a fighter. You know what I mean? And and you can still have the rematches if it comes down to it was very very close in that last one. And I think that it allows the fans a little bit more transparency in the world of boxing, where in the world of combat sports, it seems like lately, where judging has been just such this wild head scratcher. I think this allows, a little bit more clarity and transparency to fans. If you're and and Steve, if you're trying to get new fans, I think this is a way to educate them.
I think that's a good point, actually, and I'd endorse that. I'd also endorse if it's a draw by the 12th round that something comes down from the ceiling with a knife or a knuckle duster on it, and you have to knock somebody out for 5 seconds to get to the knuckle duster. Then you can use it.
As long as it's not Owen Hart, he doesn't come down from ceilings very well. Yeah,
That's not
that's right,
good. Don't be doing that.
that's right, ladies and gentlemen. And if you didn't like that one, well, know this: I'm also a better dad than Chris Benoit. What? We're live,
That's
ladies
naughty.
and gentlemen.
So naughty. Um, I,
But
I, I think, I think it would have helped.
yeah,
And no, it wouldn't help Rolly Romero because he would have said, on the open scorings, they said I was way behind. But actually, what do they know? Those Dickless wonders or something like that. And I was better than
or
that.
or would Rolly Romero be the kind of guy that looks up there and sees that he's like 3 points down going into the 12th round and just leave? Like he did at the interview. He was like, I'd like to thank God and the rest of you can fuck off. And then just walked out.
You sound like Michael Jackson there. He's not. It's not that.
Oh,
Or,
sorry.
or, no, I think that's right. He might just have downed tools. That's enough for me. I'll save it for another night.
Which, again, gives everybody something fantastic to talk about the next day. So I'm up for it. Listen, boxing has done a lot of things and they continue to do a lot of things, and a lot of those things that they do are stolen from us. So let's hope that this is another one of those things, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. We say it and it happens.
I mean, because we only speak truth around here. That's it, right? Truth in this.
Come
We,
to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
I thought you weren't going to do it. I thought we're wrapping it up. He's going to miss it this week. You swine.
It's what we do, Steve. It's what we do. All right, my brother. Thank you so much, as usual. This has been a lot of fun. Doing this live has been fantastic. For those of you that watch this, I appreciate you all. For those of you that are listening to this later, just remember we will be doing these live on the regular basis, probably, whenever we don't. But you'll see it. There'll be a notification. So make sure that you click that like, click that subscribe so that you can get those notifications. If you're listening to this on one of your podcast providers, then, we appreciate you as well. But know that you get to see Steve's beautiful, beautiful face if you check this out on YouTube. You can also check out his stuff over on YouTube as well. You can check him out on TikTok. Yeah, that's right. We're going to figure out how to get that all tied in as well so we can get you people involved, all you TikTokians or whatever the heck you guys are called. Tickletians? I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
weird. Particularly weird.
Right. And on that note,
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
if it's good once, Steve, it's great twice. You know that, right? You know
That's what
that.
I've been told.
That's right. Listen, here's my final message to Rolly Romero. You lost, son. You lost. Plain and simple. Move on. Find the next fight. Maybe fight one of those guys that you didn't know who their name was. But if you're going to fight, remember, don't duck it. That chin, tuck it.